hello and welcome to the MoneyMagpie Invest Introduction to Cryptocurrencies. I'm Jasmine Birtles and I'm the founder, editor and CEO of MoneyMagpie. And I'm joined by three experts today who can answer any of your questions. And remember, no question is too dumb in this session. You can either put up your hand or probably better to write in the chat your questions. And then I've got a few of my team reading the questions, and every now and then, you never know, I might even read them myself. So I'll get my team to tell me what the questions are, and we'll put them to the team. So the team is Bivu Das, who is the UK General Manager of Kraken, which is a leading FCA registered crypto platform where you can buy and sell crypto. And it's one of the most well established in this country. And we also have two journalists with years of experience in crypto. We've got Gillian Godsill. Gillian, say hello.
Hello, how
Hello.
are you
And
guys?
hello. Actually, I should have got Bivu to say hello. Bivu, say hello so we can see you.
He's muted again, I think.
I was, hello. And we also, so Gillian writes for a variety of publications, including Coin Telegraph. Who else do you write for, Gillian?
Well, Block Leaders, which is my site I founded in 2018, and I write for Telegraph and Block Telegraph and the Irish Times, and
Great.
I've written for Darren before. Darren was my editor when he was editing the uh,
City AM.
City AM. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
exactly. So this is our third one. Thank you for the introduction, Gillian. Darren Parkin used to be crypto editor. I think you were at City AM and now runs
Yeah.
the Digital Commonwealth. Is that right, Darren?
Yes, I'm the editorial director there, along with my colleague James Bowater, who's the CEO and founder. And so I'll say hi, waving my Harry Potter pen because I'm a Harry Potter nut. And I have
Good.
to say, Gillian is a beautiful writer.
Brilliant. Well,
Well,
it's just a
Darren
general
is a beautiful editor.
Behave yourself.
Great. And Bivu is a beautiful managing director. That's so, we're all
Still
doing
muted.
stuff. So before we start, I have to just remind everyone that nothing said here today should be taken as financial advice. It's that boring thing we always have to say. It's information only, and you do need to do your own research before making any investments. So just make that, very clear. This is all information. It's not advice. Now, I've got all sorts of questions to ask the panel, but this is your webinar. So if you've come to find out more, then do put questions in the chat box or raise your hand and we'll get you unmuted so you can ask the questions direct, as I say. But, chat box is probably best for a lot of people. This is your chance to ask the burning questions, so don't waste it. But I thought I'll start. I'll start with a few of my questions because hey, it's my webinar. I'll ask some questions, and I thought I'd start with Bivu, with the question that my heart sinks when I get asked this, and I do get asked this quite regularly, particularly on telly and radio. How would you explain cryptocurrency in easy language, Bivu? Go on, your starter for 10.
It is the probably the most difficult question to answer because it is inherently a complex thing. It's asking somebody how to explain the internet. That's how I'd equate it to. But I'll try my best. So, I mean, look, in some ways, the cryptocurrency is the internet equivalent of money. It runs on technology, a system called the blockchain. Every transaction is publicly visible and cryptographically secure and approved and validated by a bunch of people or a bunch of computers, essentially. And I can tell eyes are glazing over already, but that's kind of the simplest way to describe it. It's like a technology-driven money which doesn't require a central bank or a central government or institution to issue it or to record it or to validate it or to approve it. And so it really bring and use as pure technology does, it brings the benefits of technology such as full decentralization, accessibility, security, and these sorts of things to money, and things that are really important globally.
Yeah, I mean, our sense generally, as human beings in this time in this top part of history, is that money is something that the government creates. And so you don't really ask. I mean, we're asking now. We've been questioning it for a while, probably since the financial crash of 2008. So I'm just wondering, why does crypto exist? Because it did start sort of pretty much after the financial crash. I mean, can you tell us a bit about the origin story and the challenges it's looking to solve?
Yeah, I think the origin story is one that was older than crypto, and the kind of the internet money, or the internet version of money has been, or the peer-to-peer version of money has been tried a number of times, back way back in the 80s even. Um,
83, yeah.
Thank you,
Yes.
Darren.
Yeah.
Um, so I think, and look, I was a management consultant back at the time in the financial crisis, looking to fix and undo a lot of the things that the big banks had done. And it was really disheartening to see not just bad actors, but the culture, the structure, the processes, and the systems that led to the financial crisis. And that is really what predicated um, something like crypto to be really pushed to the fore. And thankfully, Nakamoto was the one who wrote the white paper and enabled it to come into life. And I think the first block ever written, I'll get this right, I've written it down somewhere, included the phrase um,
Mm.
Times, 3rd of January 2009, Chancellor on the brink of a second bailout for banks. And so if you remember around that time, banks
Mm.
were getting bailed out by taxpayers' monies. Most of those taxpayers had lost millions themselves
Mm.
um, because of banks doing what they wanted with people's money, with lack of transparency and one thing in mind. And so really, I mentioned those key principles before about decentralization, about transparency, about accessibility and financial freedom. Those are the things and the key principles that really enabled, alongside the technology, enabled cryptocurrencies to become popular and to become useful.
So, Darren, I'm just going to move to you. Do you have anything to add to that about, why cryptocurrencies, why the whole crypto, particularly Bitcoin, came out, and what it potentially can offer to the financial system right now?
Yeah, well, the problem is, our financial system is based on something that was probably invented pre-Roman times. And we're living in a digital age now, and we have to bring finance with us. And in many ways, it's actually quite similar because obviously when the Romans arrived, they brought coins, and prior to that, we were using tokens. It's not dissimilar to what we're actually doing with cryptocurrency. It's just that these things are now digitally held and exist in a digital format. We can still exchange £2 of flour for a goat if we want, but we can do it using a cryptocurrency now. It's more or less the same thing, but just tidied up and brought into our digital age today.
Well, you say more or less the same thing, but the constant refrain that I get from friends of mine who are anti-crypto, as it were, and that includes people in the city, is, "Oh, there's nothing that backs it." Gillian, what do you say? Because I'm sure you get this. Oh, there's
Oh,
nothing
totally.
behind it.
I live in a very rural part of Ireland with horsey people. I always say, isn't that like Jack and the Beanstalk? Funny money. I'm not saying that rural people aren't sophisticated, but it's at a whole different level. Well, when I first got into this space, I didn't really question money. I think maybe that I don't to be rude. That might have been your first question. What is money as opposed to what is cryptocurrency? And I never questioned money before until I had my own disaster of a divorce and recession and repossession and all sorts of crazy stuff. And I started saying, what is money? How does it
Mhm.
work?
Mhm.
And that's when I discovered shortly afterwards about blockchain and Bitcoin, about how you remove the need for intermediaries. And when people say to me, what's it backed by? I'm kind of going, well, what's government money backed by? It's because we believe in it. And we're very fortunate. I imagine that most of the audience here is in the developed world, so it's in the UK, Ireland, Western Europe, whatever. And we have fairly stable financial systems. But if you lived in Nigeria or Venezuela, you have a very different perception of money. And I think what's really interesting for me, I was interviewing somebody recently and they said, financial systems, they're not broken. They're working perfectly for those that control them. And I think that's the thing. I think there is a growing realization is that, and also, sorry, the thing about it's not backed by the money isn't backed by gold anymore. Nixon decoupled it. Bretton Woods, do a bit of history and all that sort of stuff. And I won't bore you now with it all, but money is quite a different thing. Quantitative easing, all these things that are happening nowadays. But the nice thing about what uh, cryptocurrencies and blockchain does, as Bivu mentioned, it's the decentralization. So you no longer have a reliance on a central third party, i.e. a bank, to confirm the transfer of money. Blockchain, the technology can do that confirmation without fear or favor, and it's a mathematical procedure. And I think that's interesting because we really need to change the world. The world's in flux a bit. And I think we do need to change. And in the Western world, we're very lucky because even like Cyprus did that haircut, didn't it, a couple of years ago that people lost all their money. In India, they quite frequently change the notes. So the old notes become worthless overnight. So it's not been, we think of money as static, but it's not. And it's changing. And cryptocurrency and decentralization and removal of the bankers as the only people to allow to transactions to occur is not a bad thing.
No, absolutely. Now we've got some questions
Can
coming
I
up.
just add something onto that, Jasmine?
Yeah, sure.
Because it's very relatable to what you just said. And that is that, 3 or 4 years ago, I was editing articles that people had submitted about how Donald Trump was saying that crypto and Bitcoin was backed by nothing but thin air. And he was very much against it. And now I'm editing articles about him launching bloody meme coins.
It says a lot, doesn't it? Yes, actually, it's a good question actually about the meme coins. I mean, maybe Darren, you could just explain, what is a meme coin? Because as you say, he's got his own. He's got the Trump coin, the Melania coin. We've had the Doge coin for a while. That's Elon Musk's one, which I've got a few friends who trade that. They've made money. It's buying and selling. I don't touch it. But what role do those kinds of assets play, and why are they important?
I think the most important thing about meme coins and also Dogecoin, perhaps right now, is that, and this isn't probably the answer you might be looking for, but I think it shows us the strength of cryptocurrency and particularly Bitcoin. Because if you remember a couple of years ago, Elon Musk was trying his absolute best to interfere in cryptocurrency. And he made an appearance on Saturday Night Live, and the price of Doge went up enormously. And everyone was thinking, oh, this is great. Let's buy all the Doge we can because Elon Musk's going to go on. He's going to talk about Doge, etc., etc. He has repeatedly done this in ways that people expect the price of Bitcoin and Doge or any other meme coin is involved in to absolutely skyrocket. Yet it hasn't. And in a couple of occasions, or on a couple of occasions, he's tried it with Bitcoin. The price has either not moved or it has decreased. However, look at what he's doing now. He's got more influence of change over the federal government and their systems than he has managed with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And I think that demonstrates the power and strength of crypto.
That's a
It's more
great point.
robust. It's more robust than the American government.
That's a
That's
very good
amazing.
point. So it's democratizing money. Bivu, would you say that Bitcoin particularly has democratized money because it can't be it can't be run by governments certainly or would be governors like Musk.
100%. I mean, and they'll try. I mean, lots of governments are buying Bitcoin reserves and trying to control the narrative a little bit themselves. And that's maybe pessimistically speaking, and optimistically speaking, they recognize the value in it. But I think Bitcoin, it's important to recognize, just to your first question around meme coins, um, the different types of assets and cryptocurrencies that exist. And
Yeah.
Bitcoin is somewhat unique. It's like the gold of of cryptocurrencies. Like Gillian said, fiat currencies today have no backing value other than the perceived value, and it's the same with Bitcoin. And as I said there, that clearly has a perceived value where people see it as a safe place to park their money. There's other types of coins which have specific utility, either running the networks themselves, and there are or for cross-border payments or stable coins, which are a digital version of a fiat-backed currency, or the meme coins. And whilst there's a lot of people who don't like meme coins, and for good reason, there is the point that Darren made that it kind of proves the strength of the others, but I also think that it engages. There
Yes.
are the big social community around meme coins. People do use it for speculation, and outside influences obviously impact that. And so back to your first point at the beginning of this is none of this is investment advice, so do your own research. But it does lead to speculation, but it really brings the community and culture together of people who are engaged in this space. So I think each of these have a very specific and unique part to play in the overall ecosystem.
I'm going to come to the audience questions in a moment, but what you've mentioned a few things that make me think particularly about Bitcoin again. For example, I mean, I've just read that the Czech Republic are considering taking on Bitcoin reserves in the same way as we used to have, we sort of have gold reserves before Gordon Brown sold half of them, of course, marvelous, very helpful at the bottom of the market, but that's another thing. But and I've been speaking to Bitcoin maximalists, people who really love Bitcoin, not interested in other types of crypto, and they're saying we should, in this country, we should have Bitcoin reserves. And I think Trump is considering it as well. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think it's possible? Could we do it? And could it actually sort out our economy, frankly?
I mean, I'm neither an economist nor am I Liz Truss, so I can't comment either way. But I think it is very indicative that these governments are talking about not just governments, pension funds, huge investment banks. They're all putting their money into Bitcoin ETFs, and that clearly speaks to the belief that this is as an asset that has appreciating value. And so I don't know what will sort out our government right now. I can say Bitcoin will probably support that, and we do have a lot of reserves in Bitcoin from seized assets. I
Yes.
just I don't do a Germany and sell them all off now.
Well, yes, exactly. Well, I'm just going to go to one of the questions, which is kind of related. Alan Mayo has asked, are we going to have crypto ETFs in the UK as they are talking about in the USA? And certainly, I mean, I have heard of Bitcoin ETFs, but I'm not aware of us having any here. Gillian, what do you think? Have you written about this at all?
I haven't actually. I imagine that they will come in because people like, so some questions in here saying, how can I invest? And I'm a novice, whatever. An ETF, is it an arm's remove? So you're buying it through a broker. So I think it might be a way, it's not entirely embraced by the crypto community. Because there's a feeling also of concentration, whatever. But so I think it will come through. Absolutely. I don't know, Dara,
Yeah.
you're on the ground in the UK. You probably have a better feeling for
There's
that than I
there's a
would.
reason
Karen,
that
what
they
do you
aren't
think?
available.
Oh, sorry, Bivu. What? Sorry, Karen?
There is a reason that they're not available right now, and that's because the FCA and the regulators have not made them available. So exchange trade notes for retail users from Bitcoin are not available.
Okay, so
Okay, sorry.
it
Yes.
does sound to me like, we need to be speaking to the FCA and get a bit faster in your regulating of crypto because we could potentially be left behind. Darren, what do you feel about that situation?
That gets mentioned constantly. Every summit we do at Mansion House of the Digital Commonwealth, it comes up time and time again, the speed at which the FCA operates. And I'm not having a go at the FCA here. It's throughout the entire government. We need to speed these things up. And I think one of the themes that appears in a panel, at least one panel at every summit, is, are we being left behind? And everyone says yes, because some other countries darted in front of us. I mean, Malta's always there, isn't it? Malta is always the haven that allows the advancement of these things. And then suddenly the US is going to become the crypto hub of the world, et cetera, et cetera. But their policies are running slow. And we've had so many opportunities to grasp this and get on with it and lead the way. We have in the square mile one of the most powerful financial centers on planet Earth. And we've got an opportunity to pick something up here, the future, in fact, and dictate how it is run. And for some bizarre reason, we are kicking our heels and dragging our feet. And it is a source of immense frustration.
Yes, I can
Could I
feel.
just add to that too? Sorry, I beg your pardon. I did some interviewing last year when I was in the UK, sorry, about the FCA and about lobby groups who were talking about it. And they said two of the biggest problems of their approach to cryptocurrencies is one is that people who work for the FCA have to divest all their cryptocurrency, which is not really a positive thing. I know that it's meant to be a neutral thing, but most of them don't actually like cryptocurrency, let alone are divesting. And secondly, the other complaint is that Bitcoin is lumped in with all the other cryptocurrencies. And for Bitcoin maximalists, it's not seen as progressive because obviously I see in the chat there, meme coins, you love them or hate them, do you know? So if you're putting all the meme coins in with Bitcoin, it's not the same process of rationalization. Having said that, we have Mica here in Ireland and here in Europe, and people rail about that the whole time. They say it's too prescriptive. And is Europe going to fall behind because we're closing all the doors and making things very, very difficult to happen?
Yes, it
You've
does.
listed quite a few brick walls there, Gillian.
Mm.
And
Yes.
just to add to that, because I'm at the coalface of this talking to the FCA, and I think so. Whilst I don't agree with Micah, and I fully agree with Darren, we have had the opportunities to take a stand and be progressive, and we've not seized upon those. And now the US will come in and overtake.
Mm.
The point that Gillian made there about Bitcoin being lumped in with everything else and stablecoins being lumped in with everything else is the number one thing that we need to change. It's changed in Canada. They don't count Bitcoin as the same as other assets. I mean, even if we look at some of the stats, that the volatility of Bitcoin is less than something like 25% of the S&P, I'm going to say 250.
Mm.
But assets which are not counted as high risk and people can trade them and they can't freely trade and access Bitcoin, that's just bizarre. And it's so backwards.
It is well on Kraken. You have quite a number of assets that one can trade. So how do you pick the ones? I mean, obviously Bitcoin will be the biggest by far. We've got Ether, we've got I assume Litecoin, and as you mentioned, some stable coins, which must be they have a fair amount of buying and selling. But then there are loads of others. How do you decide what to have on the site and what not to?
So we have over 250 coins, and that is growing. I think we have quite a rigorous listing process, and we ensure that we look at the things like the utility, we look at the longevity, we look at the people who are creating this coin. I mean, it's a very tricky balance where we want to get the right coins listed so people can access them before anything happens,
Mm.
anything positive happens, that is. But at the same time, ensuring that this is our reputation on the line if something is a scam, and so I think we tread that balance very very well, and we'll continue to look to improve that and speed things up. Um, as with anything, though, it's always do your own research. So even if we list it, you know,
Yeah. Still have
do
to make your own mind up. Yes, exactly. Well, we're all adults, so I think that, and we need to be treated as adults. I think, it's there. It's up to you whether you're going to go for it or not. Speaking of adults, Jeff has made had a very good question here. Should we buy crypto to hold? Or is it better to trade? Because, we've just been talking about trading meme coins. Darren, what do you think? Are you a buy and hold or are
I I think it should be a matter of six of one and half a dozen of the other. I think once you introduce someone to crypto, and let's say they go on the Kraken exchange, then they're presented with this fabulous plethora of 250 coins, which you have a level of trust in because, as Vivu says, there are a lot of processes that they go through in order to ensure that they're listing something that they deem safe for you. And I think if you give someone 50 quid and say, right, here you go, buy £30 worth of Bitcoin, £10 of Ethereum, and five of Cardano, right? But use the rest to have a bit of fun. They will have fun, and they'll see things that they think, hang on, that's going to do well in the future. So I'm not going to touch that. I'm just going to leave that alone because that's got lots of zeros after a decimal point. So if I leave that over there for a bit and come back in a year, that might make some money. And then they'll realize that by Tuesday, they've made £3 and think, okay, I'm going to take that £3. I'm going to play with it. You can't do that with fiat cash. You can't give 50 quid to your kid and say, right, put that in the bank. They're not going to turn around and say, okay, well, I look forward to going on the bank's website and playing with that.
No.
This gives you an opportunity to have a bit of fun and explore an issue which, and I think Bivu said at the beginning, people's eyes tend to glaze over the more you talk about the ins and outs of these things.
Mm.
But the fun side of it is holding some of these coins, keeping them aside for a rainy day, perhaps even, some people will view certain cryptos as their pension pot, whereas other cryptos, you know what, I'm going to have a bit of fun with this because, like I said, this has got loads of zeros after the decimal point. I'll come back tomorrow. That might have doubled in price, or it may not have done. Again, not financial advice. But at the same time, they're engaging with something and they are absolutely deciding what they can do with their own investment. And that's fun. And where else
Yeah.
can you say that about finance?
Well, very good point. Yes, and the numbers move quite quickly, which makes it more interesting. As you say, if you put money in a savings account, firstly, you're going to lose money because the cash fiat money is devaluing all the time. And secondly, 3% over a year, it's not that exciting. Actually, on a similar theme, Jeff again, good man, Jeff, asking lots of questions. He says, say I wanted to start, a bit with £1,000, 1K. He says, and this is a big question, what's the best 5 coins to try? I mean, okay, everybody has different views on this. I mean, I would assume we'd all say Bitcoin number one. But Bivu, do you have an idea? Are you allowed to say what do you think, another 4 coins that are worth considering? And I'll ask both Gillian and Darren as well what they're interested in.
Uh, Again, all of the caveats and disclaimers
Yeah.
here. This is not this is personal. I kind of agree with Darren's split, whereby you have a portfolio that is across the different types of utilities. So you keep something in an asset that you know is going to be inflationary, that is Bitcoin, um, over the long term, that is, and you keep it and you hold that, and other things, and you look at other assets that have some utility, like Solana or Ethereum or others tokens are available. And then the rest of it, you do your own research and you look at the use case of a particular coin, and if you think it's going to go up, then you put it into that. The meme coins are the hardest ones to try and probably the ones, if you're new to this, I would tend to stay away from, or if you are, just put in what you're willing to lose, like
Exactly.
and then
Yes.
take it like that. It is a bit of a gamble on the newer meme coins.
Well, in that case, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'll tell you what I've got. The vast amount of my crypto holdings is Bitcoin, and the more I look at it, the more I think I should be a Bitcoin maximalist. Bitcoin's where it's at. Bitcoin, Bitcoin. That's where I'm feeling at the moment. I do have some Ethereum, got Bitcoin there, Ethereum down there, and then tiny bits in Litecoin, which is kind of doing all right. XRP, which is XRP is produced by Ripple, and a lot of cryptocurrency fans go, "Oh, you got XRP. Oh, that's not proper crypto." But I'm sticking with it. I'm not. I have to say, I've never been interested in stable coins. I was also not interested in meme coins until Trump brought out his, and I'm pretty irritated that I didn't know about it on the Saturday that he brought it out. A friend of mine did, bought lots, made lots of money because it went like that. But I think if I buy it now, it'll probably go down. So I'm not going to bother. So that's what I do. How about you, Gillian? Which would you, what are you investing in? What do you
Well,
like?
it's interesting when you asked that question at the beginning, and I think I mentioned it before. We're very lucky to live in a stable economy, so people can make choices here that are better than if you're living in an African country where your currency has gone to pot. You will use it. You actually spend whatever currency you will spend it. You won't look at it in terms of speculation and value. Um, yeah, Bitcoin obviously that's kicker off, and it's amazing. But also what I did too, I did actually buy some Donald Trump meme only because I'd never bought a meme token. Well, I have some Doge. But I thought for the crack of it, I bought it at the height and it's gone down by half. But it's just to say that I have it. It was like, I don't know, $100. So it was for a bit of
Good.
fun. That's all it was.
Yeah.
But other things that I look at as well, I'm a journalist and a writer. And in the Cardano ecosystem, Charles Hoskinson, who's quite famous, there's a project. I look at projects. It's a project called book.io, which publishes books in the form of NFTs. So I had written erotica back in the crash to try and save my house from the banks, which didn't save anyway. But I still had this trilogy, so I relaunched it on the Cardano ecosystem via book.io, and I made $1,000 because they all bought. They did AI generated covers for the book. So they had one character was I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, was Willie. And I said, that's not a character. So they got different, the AI prompt went a bit mad with that. But anyway, so it was a fun project. The Cardano, Charles Hoskinson is a reputable ecosystem in terms of there's a lot of building. He's also co-founder of Ethereum back in the day. So that to me was fun. That was my interest. So I think if people are looking at stuff, and I'm not a trader and I'm not I don't have loads of money to invest or anything like that, but I look at projects that are interesting, and that leads me into I now have some ADA on my account because I earned it from selling the book. So that might be an idea. Look at projects that you enjoy and then see who's working in that area and then maybe get involved that way.
That's interesting. You mentioned NFTs. We'll come back to that in a minute because that's a sort of side thing with crypto as well. But I'm just going to get a question from Andrea, who's just wondering, can anybody on the panel see a time when we'll use cryptocurrencies to do actual trading, say between the UK and the US? I mean, at the moment, the dollar is kind of strong enough, but do you think, Bivu, do you think that there could come a time when cryptocurrencies are used for proper trading?
100%. I think it's already started to happen in the countries that Gillian intimated to there, where they don't have access to stable currencies. I mean, if you look at any sort of global trade that involves a Western country going into a non-Western or more developed country, that already involves a central currency that tends to be US dollars.
Mhm.
And across the journey of that payment, it touches up to 10 intermediary banks, each of whom take a cut, sit on the payment, perhaps reject it, perhaps just ignore it, or their systems ignore it. And that has to change. And this is what crypto can do. And so already today, crypto is being used for those sorts of cross-border payments or the settlement of those sorts of cross-border payments. I fully expect in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll be paying for a coffee with well, I mean, in the next year, I would say in the UK, looking at Kraken, not trying to give anything away, you'll be able to use your crypto or stable coins to pay for a coffee very, very, very easily.
There are I'm not saying Kraken has got, but there are quite a few cards that operate that way as well. People are already
Correct.
paying for coffee with their crypto.
That's quite.
Indeed, and then if you look at El Salvador, they've taken to actually accepting Bitcoin directly as a currency for trading for goods and services or buying things. So it is happening, and ultimately we'll get to a place where, just like the internet, you'll be using something and you won't know you're using it. So the technology that is provided by the blockchain distributed ledger technology will be used to underpin the financial services, a new financial services era, and you won't even know you're using it. And that's where we need to get to.
That's a very good point. We've got a very good point from Abs. It's not really a question, just saying, don't buy meme coins. Certainly don't buy the Trump coin because they are controlled. And it's true. Yeah. I mean, and this is something, actually, Darren, this is something that I discussed with Susie Violet Ward from Bitcoin Policy UK on our podcast recently. And she was saying that Bitcoin is the only genuinely decentralized coin. All the others, she says, are controlled by someone, some organization, very much meme coins. What do you feel? Do you agree, or do you think some of the others are?
I do. I like Susie. She's a Bitcoin maximalist and one of the few Bitcoin maximalists I get on with. Not no disrespect. Yes, it's true, but also I think you have to bear in mind that many of the other cryptos that you're looking at are moving towards that decentralization, but someone has to do it. It's like, Bitcoin itself, someone had to be behind it to get it going and then set it free to become decentralized. And that's what you're seeing now. It's like Cardano, for instance, and there's my cat. I'm so sorry.
Crypto cat.
Okay.
But like Cardano, for instance, Charles Hoskinson, he is moving that towards one day becoming completely decentralized. And
Right.
many other projects doing the same. So they all had to start somewhere. So, why we have to have a fixation on Bitcoin doing that is beyond me.
The
This
cat.
is this is hard to work, isn't it?
It is.
Wait till the dog gets involved, then you're
Oh,
in trouble.
that's marvelous.
Come on, mate, get out of it.
We've got another question from Alan Mayo, who makes a very good point that he's a crypto novice. He'd like somebody else to manage it. Hence why asking about ETFs. So he's saying, how can I get into crypto and let somebody else manage it? Is there a way, Bivu, is there something that Kraken does that you can just go, well, can you do it for me, or will you be bringing that in?
No, I think investment rules are very strict around this. Again, but looking back at the FCA, so things like collective investment schemes or portfolio managed services aren't something. There will probably be some tools to help educate and support that we'll be releasing in the near future, particularly for novices,
Yeah.
uh, and for those who don't want to have to research every single type of coin. So those are the sorts of things we're looking at to try to help people who are new to this. And ultimately, we are pushing for things like the ETF reversal, ban reversal, so
Mm.
people can get access to.
And I think what can be complicating too as well, I understand perfectly what that person is asking, because when I first got into this space in 2017, I'm going, what? What? And it
How do you
really hurt my
start?
head. And I've got a tech background and I knew about money because I'd lost it all. But it's like, going, what is it? And it is tough. And then sometimes it will get easier. Absolutely will get, and Biva will be in charge of that. I'm sure he'll have loads of products that'll come out. But I think that in the interim, there can be, and I don't wish to be, have say a negative point, but like Celsius. Celsius to me was a fantastic platform when it was. And I thought it was easy to use. And Alex Mashinsky, the now disgraced and soon going to jail founder, was said, break up with your banks. It's like having been a domestic abuse relationship, and single moms can keep their crypto and borrow against it, blah, blah. And the actual interface was very, very simple. Only what was going on in the back end
No.
wasn't what he was saying. So, and I think the hard thing is I want to see platforms like that, make it easy to use, but that are also transparent. And I see, Darren, you're going to jump in here too as well.
I'm desperate to jump in. Because I wouldn't advocate for it right now, but I think over the next sort of 3 to 4 years,
Mm.
AI will be doing exactly that for us.
Yes.
Right now, it's not ready. Don't, please, from my heart, don't believe in working with AI 100% right now. I get so many articles sent to me that have been written by AI, and
Yes.
I spend more of my time editing those than I would if a human had written it. And so, for instance, I was working with a project a couple of months ago, and they sent me their white paper, and they said, "Oh, we had AI write this for us. Could you edit it and make it legible?" It was 400 bloody pages long. It would have taken a week, and they wanted me to do it as a favor, like
Oh,
work for nothing, sorting out this white paper. And it's the same when it comes to trades. AI, it can do it and it will do it. But right now, and I don't know if Bivu agrees with this, I don't think AI is fully capable of handling your finances right now. But the direction of travel says to me, 3 to 4 years, it will do that for us.
interesting. I'm just thinking, as we're talking about sort of simple products and enabling people to buy and sell. Bivu, one of the things, I mean, I've got an account on Kraken, and as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty straightforward to use. But of course, the FCA makes you do things like do a little test to do it. How do you physically open an account? I mean, there's yours. There are other crypto platforms, of course. We all do similar things. What's the process of opening an account and putting the money in and finally getting to buy some Bitcoin, if that's what you'd like to do?
I mean, it is just notwithstanding all of the additional questions that we're required to ask, it is a relatively straightforward process, similar to opening any sort of neobank account today. You can go download the app, go log on, create a profile, go through your standard, find your driver's license or your passport from the back of the cupboard, and then take a picture of that, and then you've created your account. There will be that questionnaire, which is relatively straightforward. I mean, it's a simple. I shouldn't say it's relatively straightforward because it's supposed to test your investment advice and make sure that the products are appropriate for you. But um, if you're interested in this space, you will have done your research and you will be able to pass that test. Then there is an enforced 24-hour hold for you to just think about your decision, apparently, if in case that changes in 24 hours. And then you'll be able to freely trade and buy and sell to your heart's desire. But I do think, this is not wanting to be a shameless self-plug because there are other crypto exchanges available. But Julian's point around as Celsius and transparency and security are extremely important,
Yeah.
and it's two of the things that certainly at Kraken we pride ourselves in. We have strong customer support. We have really, really strong security. I mean, even me typing in my 72-digit password every 5 minutes on my laptop is frustrating, but I understand why.
Yes.
And we are transparent. We've recently published, we're not a public company, but we've recently started publishing our financials. We publish proof of reserves, which talk about what we actually have in all of our Bitcoin wallets across, all of our crypto wallets across the estate. And that's important for transparency to show that we aren't doing anything nefarious or with the assets that people entrust us. So it is important to do your research even with the platforms that you start to trade on.
And so actually, I can move on to a question by from Mark, who says, if you buy crypto on a trading platform like Kraken and you don't plan to trade, when should you use a crypto wallet, and what's the easiest way to do that? I'll ask you first, Bivu.
I mean, you have your asset, even if you don't trade, you can still hold your assets in Kraken's platform, and we custody it, and we have as I say, all of the security features that I mentioned contribute to the safety of that custody crypto, and those proof of reserves show that we have that, and it's audited by external parties. So the easiest way to do that is not to get, in my opinion, a self-custody wallet at the beginning where you have to try to remember find a place to write down your seed phrase and everything like that, and it's to hold it on a platform that you trust that will manage your assets and that you have access to, but and you can choose what to do with them, but at least they are custodied and held securely on our platform.
That's a good point. Darren, how do you keep your crypto? Do you have what they call a cold wallet, one of those sort of USB sticks that's separate? And as Vivu says, you have to have this phenomenal password for it, or do you just keep it on a platform like Kraken or on a
My advice would be, if you're starting out in crypto, is to use a platform like Kraken. And one thing that BB's not actually said about Kraken so far is that they've been around since the start.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm going to put this on Coinbase or Binance because they're the originals." They're not necessarily. Kraken's been around since all this began. But just to mention Coinbase as well, in a very similar vein to Kraken, I think they're both brilliant platforms if you're starting out because they are quite easy to use. And many of the other platforms the exchanges, sorry, I actually find Binance too complex. And I shouldn't, because it is regarded as a beginner's tool, but I just find Binance almost impossible to use, which is why I sort of look at Kraken and Coinbase as the flagships for that. I think in terms of using your own sort of self-custody wallet, that's for when you get a bit more advanced and you start wanting to get funky with crypto. So if you say wanted to get involved in Donald Trump's ridiculous meme coin, then that's the place you do that, because these things aren't going to be available on Kraken or Coinbase. These crazy things pop up, have their moment and disappear, and by the time a platform like Kraken has had to digest this, do its own research on it and say, is this right for our clients? Therefore, shall we list it? It's been and gone, and there are so many risks out there with that. I mean, do we have to talk about the Hock Tour girl and her coin and disappearance, etc.?
Yeah.
That the private wallets are for when you really do know what you're doing and you want to take risks.
A good point here from Hillary. Something that I've experienced, and I'm sure others who've tried to put money into crypto platforms have experienced, that she's heard of banks, high street banks, not allowing you to move money to a crypto platform. You're nodding your head there, Gillian. I mean, I've had it with two banks. I think we've got to the point now where they'll let me go up to 5,000 at a time. You're right, and I have to phone them up pretty much. But are you finding this is a problem still, Gillian?
It is. I saw it recently. There was actually a number of years ago. There was an exchange in Ireland, and two brothers, one who's sadly not with us anymore. But anyway, they set up this exchange. They went through one of the Pillar Bank's startup programs, innovation programs. They won the innovation program, and then a year later, their account was closed. And part of the idea behind Bitcoin was that we're backed by Irish banks. You can trust us. That's the level of trust. So still, I'm in many Telegram groups and WhatsApp groups, and almost on a weekly basis, someone said, "Which bank are you using for your crypto? Who's not going to freeze my accounts or change the rules or take away my services?" Because we still need access to credit and an interaction with the fiat world.
Mm.
And most people will use their bank account to pay their mortgage, whatever it is. So they need that interaction. So and it seems to be very arbitrary. Like there's no real sort of rhyme nor reason why somebody would stop your service, but they do. It's not simple.
It's a good point. Bivu, do you on Kraken, do you have a list of sort of, if you like, approved banks that will actually quite easily put money into Kraken, and then have a list of those that don't?
We do. I mean, the fact that we're even talking about a bank telling you how to spend your own money
Yes.
is crazy.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
should reflect on that for a moment, and that is one of the reasons that we are doing this in the first place.
yeah.
Um, but yes, a number of high street banks either restrict or completely ban transferring to a registered or regulated crypto exchange. And so all that means is people find a way. People will always find a way, and they'll go somewhere that's just unsecure and
Mm.
have more risk of losing their money. Um, a lot of the neobanks will, I mean, so Revolut or Monzo, and Barclays, I think also allow transfers to
Yeah.
our.
To a
Uh,
limited degree, she says, with bitter experience. Yes.
okay. Okay, yeah. So I know NatWest limit it as well. And Metro Bank came out and completely banned it back in November, and I wrote an article about that. And it's we're on the verge of what they called in the US Operation Choke Point, and it's not just people who are trying to get into uh, um to crypto from a personal reason. This also small businesses, and
Mm.
we've had a fine history of innovation and fintech innovation in the UK, and we are crushing that type of innovation when we can't let crypto firms, startups get operational accounts in the UK. We talked earlier about the government and how to help them. This is how to help them. We're an industry crying out for regulation, crying out to be part of a system which is broken, and that shouldn't be the case. And we look at France, for example, they've written into to the law that banks cannot discriminate against crypto firms. They cannot debank people who want to do this,
Mm.
and we should be doing exactly the same in the UK.
Yeah, good point. And I'm getting tired of hearing people being debanked for their political views and their religious views as well. They could do without that one. The whole banking system could do with a bit of a smack, and I think that's what crypto's doing, as you say. It's taking it on. I've got another question here from Michelle, who's saying, "I'm a complete newbie. So would it be a good idea to put £1,000 into Bitcoin to start off with?" Actually, my sense of that, Michelle, is it's not so much how much in terms of figures, it's what percentage of your money you put in. I mean, I'll ask the others what they think, but I'm sort of saying to people, certainly to start off with, I would only put 1 or 2% of your money into crypto. Probably no more than 10%, just because it is very risky. But if I were going to be starting now, I would certainly start with Bitcoin. What would you say, Darren, in
I
terms of?
think that's excuse me. I think that's very sensible. And it all comes down to what you can afford. And I think people will often say what you can afford to lose is what you should be looking to invest in when you start out. And just to go back to the previous point, I understand there are many people out there who perhaps use PayPal to divert some of their bank funds directly into exchanges. So I've heard. What I would say is when it comes to that investment, over the many years that I've been involved in this, the tried and tested split is always put 50% of that investment into Bitcoin, let it hang there, and then go for the 20 on Ethereum, 10 on Cardano or a similar token, and the rest play with, make it work for you, make it work. Gone are the days when you could, put your savings into ING and you get like a 9% return every year. These things don't happen anymore. You've got to work your money and do it with that little bit of spare you've got with crypto.
Yes,
But
exactly.
use PayPal to invest in the exchanges.
Great. Yes, that's a good start. I've got a comment from Abs saying, please keep away from the Trump and the Melania meme coins as far as possible, unless you wish to get financially burnt. Yes, it's a good point. These particularly are unacceptable side of crypto, which only benefit those who control the issuance of these.
So I have heard people say that, we all talk about mass adoption. How do people get them to think about money and then look at cryptocurrency and look at it and say, well, what could this be? We all know about digital money. And I have seen quite a lot people saying that maybe meme coins who are, people, they laugh at them. What's on the Solana, there was like 3,000 being spun up a day or something like that, was something crazy. But they said it captures attention. And in that in itself is not a bad thing. I mean, yes, we know don't invest in meme coins because they're meme coins and you could be rugged,
Yes.
you will be rugged, and you're not going to make your money possibly, whatever. But they might be a feature. So don't invest. We're not saying to invest in that, but it might be a feature that raises crypto above the parapet. Until people say, well, what is that again? And that's not a bad thing.
Well, I see what you mean. So it's almost like sort of the PR wing of crypto. It's like, oh,
Good
fancy
and
that.
bad.
Yes. Abs also says, and this is one that's new to me, the UK BSR, Bitcoin Strategy Reserve, should be called Bitcoin Reserve. Well, that's interesting. I hadn't heard of that. Had you heard of that, Darren? Bitcoin Strategy Reserve.
Bitcoin is used a lot, isn't it? That term.
Britcoin.
No, it's using having a Bitcoin reserve with the UK government is something that I've heard for maybe the last couple of years, but whether or not it will happen is anyone's guess. It will happen in the US. I'm absolutely 100% confident of that. It already happens in some other countries. I would like to think that we will have a Bitcoin reserve in this country, and after all, we currently hold an enormous amount of seized Bitcoin assets. The government has an enormous amount of Bitcoin and other digital currencies. And rather than burn them to nothing, I'd like to think that they could put those into a reserve. Because if there's been seized from people who've been using cryptocurrency nefariously, then that's fair game. And the government should take it and they should put it into a Bitcoin reserve and just let it sit there. And at some point, you never know, we might find wealth again in the UK.
Yes, it would be nice, particularly as I mentioned before, that we got rid of half our reserves at the bottom of the gold reserves. So if we could replace those with Bitcoin reserves, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that would be a good thing. Abs has made the point again, and quite true. Yes, I don't think we're here to give financial advice. We're not. We've said that a few times, but offer our own sage opinions from experience. Yes, I think we're doing that quite nicely, and we've all got some experience of buying and selling crypto, and it's an interesting thing to do, I think. And so, Alan is asking, me, Jasmine, how did you start off investing in crypto? What do you use for buying and selling? Well, to be honest, I've got an account with Kraken, which is, hey, why I brought Kraken on. So that was a very helpful thing. I actually started in 2017. So it's not at the start. I heard about things in 2014 and thought, oh, that sounds interesting over my head, but I was going to quite a few tech organization meetings and things around about 2017, and I got the bug. I just thought, well, this is interesting. I'm like Gillian, I'm rather interested in new currencies, and I'm increasingly interested in just the concept of money and currency, and particularly how money is created, how it is deflated. And the deflation of fiat money is worrying me increasingly. I see it very much in this country across the West, and I see it as happening more and more. So I'm very keen to find something, maybe gold backed, maybe Bitcoin backed, I don't know, but something that is going to be stronger and more solid than what I'm realizing fiat currency is. So that's why I started, and I started with Bitcoin. Then I added in a bit of Ethereum, and as I say, got interested in XRP, got shouted at for that, but stuck with it. Only a small amount. But if I'm buying anything now, it's Bitcoin, frankly.
Could
So
I jump in there actually, and
yes,
Jasmine,
do.
and just echo what you're saying? And you said you went to meetups. Now, this is a fantastic webinar because people are asking questions. But I do think if people are here are interested, there are loads of meetups, loads of them, and they're run by projects, by exchanges that go on to Eventbrite, go on to Meetup, whatever, and go there in person and ask the questions that maybe you're not going to ask today, or ask questions again and again and again, because it does take a while, I think, for it to sink in. But I really think webinars and it's much better. Don't look at YouTube videos, for example. I'm not saying that they're bad, but go in person and chat with people. I think that's very
Mm.
powerful advice.
Yes, very good idea. Very good point about meetups, etc. Um, so now we've got another comment from Abs. My definition of a cryptocurrency is a path to financial freedom if one is interested in obtaining financial freedom through one's own efforts through a computer network. That's not under the financial control of central or local government, and certainly not by capricious and greedy banks. A very good point. Yes, yes, I think. And this is something, you do find quite a lot with cryptocurrency enthusiasts. They are often freedom fans as well. What, Darren, obviously you've talked to a lot of cryptocurrency enthusiasts. You are one yourself. Is there anything that you think sets them apart? Are they freedom fighters, or are they just, interested in currencies like me? What do you think?
I think it covers everything. I don't think you could specify one particular trait. Um, and even if I said, well, perhaps it's about financial freedom, it's not. People have so many different reasons. Let's
Mm.
take John McAfee, for instance. He was an out and out libertarian, and he just wanted to stick it to the governments of the world. And then at the other end of the scale, you've got people who just want to have a bit of fun with their money. There's no one particular trait that you could label all crypto enthusiasts with. Um, maybe it's love. Maybe people just have a bit of a love for doing something with their money.
Well, we've nearly finished it. In fact, we've gone on a little bit, but I'm going to finish with another question from Jeff Singh. Jeff asks very sensible questions. So do you all. Thank you very much for all your questions. Really interesting. And I'm sorry we haven't got room for them all. But Jeff says, what key points should you look for when researching a coin? Bivu, what would you say are the key points we should look for when researching a coin? I can't hear you, Bivu. I don't know if you're muted, but
I'm not. I was considering the
oh,
question.
right.
He was thinking.
Yeah, I fear we're on the on the investment advice side of things for this one. So um
So you wouldn't no, there are no particular sort of general pointers. How about you then, Gillian? What do you look for when
I'm
you
very
research?
loath to do that, but I will say when I started off in this sector, I was given the job of analyzing white papers and reporting back on projects, which is where I come from the project perspective. And most of
Yeah.
these projects they were startups, so I know 9 out of 10 failed dismally. And the advice that I was always given when I was researching the white paper was the team, the team, the team, the team, the team. And are they solving a problem? So that's the only thing that I could say, like any startup, because most of the coins that come up, they're businesses, they're enterprises, and they're spun up by a team that has a vision and a view to want to do something. So that's not financial advice, but it's just if you want to look at something, I think the team is the most
That's
important thing.
interesting. And Darren, if we talk in a general way, we have mentioned you've got Bitcoin, you've got stable coins, we've got meme coin. There are different types of coins, and sometimes it's worth looking into what type of coin you're interested in, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in terms of doing your own research, if you're looking to invest in something long term, look at the market cap. All right. If you're looking at something for a bit of fun, and don't waste a lot of your money on fun, just at 5% of what you can spare. Look to see how many zeros there are after a decimal point and how much engagement they have on social media. And then the other thing, and I hate to keep going back to love, but I think if you find a project that you can be in love with because it's doing good things and it's a good cause, it's like I'm looking at Scotcoin, for instance, at the minute. It's an ethical cryptocurrency that works for charities, and I do a lot of charity work and philanthropy, and I think things like that you can just fall in love with as a project. And remember, it's about investment, it's about fun, but at the same time you've got to have something that you can be passionate about as well.
Yeah, interesting. I'm going to finish up with Bivu. I'm going to give you the chance to have the last word, Bivu. If somebody is new, we've got a number of people on the workshop, the webinar today, who are very new to it. What would your advice be? What would your information be to somebody who is very new, going to open an account with Kraken or similar, and put some money in and put it into some crypto? What would your advice be to them as a starter?
I would say go to the Kraken website or other websites where you have a wealth of information available about crypto, its origins, a lot of the things we've talked about today, and how to keep yourself safe, as well as how to understand what you're investing into. Do your research. It does not take long, but it's really, really important for you to keep yourself safe. If something is too good to be true, it probably is too good. So stick to the safe platforms, stick to the ones that are regulated or registered as with regulators, and take your time. This is something which is going to be around for a long time. So don't throw all your money at trying to catch the next wave. Take your time, do your research, and have fun. And actually free yourself. Take control of your money.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Bivu. That's Bivu Das, who is the UK General Manager of Kraken, which is a crypto trading platform. Thank you to you. Thank you to Gillian. Thank you very much, Gillian Godsill, who's a crypto journalist. Thank you, Darren Parkin, another crypto journalist. Thank you very much for all your words of wisdom. And thank you to everybody who's come on this webinar. Thank you for your excellent questions and comments. Really, really useful. Now, we are recording this, as you know, and we will put the recording on YouTube, and we'll send a link to everybody who's been on this call, so you can watch it again and send it to your friends. And in fact, if you are watching this right now, like, share, and tell all your friends how fabulous it is. You know you want to. I've been Jasmine Birtles. I'm the founder and CEO of MoneyMagpie.com. Join our newsletter, our Money Magpie Invest newsletter, for more crypto information and information about investing generally. Thank you for watching.